We do here in this neck of the woods get an annual report on Lake Superior. The Star Tribune apparently feels duty bound to give us an update. And this year, we learned that Lake Superior is remarkably cold. I have a memory as a youth, and it's getting faint now, of swimming in Lake Superior. My uncle had a place on Madeline Island, and I remember going for a dip a long time ago, and it was cold. That water was cold. So that's my story.
That's a good story, Joe.
Compelling and rich.
University of Minnesota Duluth Large Lakes researcher Jay Austin, I believe we've had Jay on the show, told the student, and I have a new theory based on remembering talking to Jay, if in fact it was Jay. He told the students he was bringing out to work on Lake Superior this week to pack some winter gear. Despite the August heat, it was going to be chilly 50 miles off Grand Marais. It's been a remarkably cold year, he said of the lake, and scientists aren't entirely sure why. His group is working on UMD's Blue Heron research vessel, collecting equipment in 600 feet of water that's been monitoring temperatures and currents for a year. He expects to find answers to the unusual cold in that data. One metric that illustrates the unusual temps is the point in summer that a layer of the lake reaches 39 degrees. That's when the lake is able to form a warmer layer at the surface. The open waters of Lake Superior typically reach that temperature in late June or early July. As of early this week, that still hadn't happened in the deep central and eastern parts of the lake, Austin said, putting conditions on par with the extremely cold years of 2014 and 1996. Although this past winter was a frigid one, it wasn't as severe as either of those years, he said. Currently, on average, the lake hits that warming milestone 2 weeks earlier than it did 4 decades ago. Well, not this year, reaching its peak temperatures by mid-August. But the open waters of Lake Superior are not likely to warm up this year, said Austin, a physics and astronomy professor who is part of UMD's Large Lakes Observatory. Boy, I think that'd be a neat job. If you're going to be in the Field Academy, you might as well be able to go out on a boat.
Right.
And then I'm not going to read you the whole story. You can read it. It was on the front page of the Star Tribune, and we learned that the lake is very cool this year. And so let's just cut to the chase. Where is climate change mentioned?
Oh, it's got to be right away.
It is, of course. Because of climate change, cooler than average years likely will be more infrequent.
Oh, so it's just wild speculation.
Mm-hmm.
It's not anything factual.
But they'll continue to happen, Austin said. This year's cold lake temperatures have little to do with climate change. Well, just a minute.
Hold on.
Just a minute. Hold up. Wait a minute. You just got done telling me because of climate change, colder than average years will likely be more infrequent. And you've also told me this is a much colder than average year. Now you're saying this year's cold lake temperatures have little to do with climate change.
Huh.
Since that involves average global temperatures and weather patterns over time.
So no matter what happens.
So no matter what happens, you're covered. Here's my new theory. I think climate change, particularly in the Field Academy, and this is nothing against Austin. He might be a GLer for all I know. I think it's become so ingrained in the curriculum. It's just become so ingrained as a truth that no matter what department you're in, climate change is seen as real, and you must account for it in your work.
Mm-hmm.
And so
because it's been brainwashed into you for so long.
And again, nothing against this guy, but he knows that's part of the paradigm. He knows that's part of the template is where would climate change factor into the discovery I'm making this year that Lake Superior hasn't even reached 39 degrees yet at a certain layer, thus preventing the surface water from warming up and making it temperate enough for swimming and what have you. And so he has to get that in there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure the reporter, who's the reporter in this case?
Jana or Jana?
Jane Hollingsworth?
No, it's Jana or Jana or something like that.
Jana, I'm sorry, Jana Hollingsworth.
Yeah.
Maybe the reporter asked the question. And if the reporter didn't ask the question, he might have been, wait a minute, I didn't give you the climate change sentence yet.
You need that for your story.
Because they got to have it. And it's a way to soften our imagery of maybe entirely well-meaning professors struggling in the failed academy. They're saddled with this. This is part of their work, is that climate change is real. It's been deemed so. We are to adhere to that. And therefore, I can get away with saying, because of climate change, colder than average years likely will be more infrequent, but they'll continue to happen. You're really covering all the bases there. And then this year's cold lake temperature have little to do with climate change.
Well, you can't lose.
You really can't lose. It's a phenomenon that's covered from all angles. If it's too cold, it's climate change. If it's too warm, it's climate change.
Mhm.
No, it's Earth. It's nature. It's a big lake. It's called the Big Gitche Gumee. And it's going to do what it wants to do, and you can't solve it by driving your electric car.
Lake Superior has an official Twitter account.
Does the lake itself write?
I'm going to guess because the tweets and the description all come in the first person.
Chris, you might find this shocking, but I've actually blocked that account.
Really?
Twitter. Yeah.
It's so funny.
I know. I find it so precious that it makes me, I can't look at that at 4:30 in the morning and not get PO.
In the description, Joe, it says, "I am the Gloat, the greatest lake of all time."
Well, I'm not going to dispute that.
Without me, this was tweeted June 14th of 2018. Without me, they would just be called the Good Lakes.
Yeah, that's true.
That's pretty funny stuff.
I was
Yeah,
a
that's so
long time
hilarious.
subscriber to Lake Superior Magazine, and I've let it lull, and I have to re-up because I really enjoy Lake Superior Magazine.
Hey, once you go superior, you never go inferior.
It's got
Okay, Chris.
maps
Okay,
and
Chris.
stuff.
That's enough. Say there's this museum up here in Alexandria, Such. We mentioned this yesterday on the Krabby Show. It's called Legacy of the Lakes, and they now have a display. I think it's running through the end of the summer about crashes, shipwrecks. I mean, on Lake Superior.
Mhm.
You might find that interesting. You might not.
Well, Nate from Sheridan, Wyoming writes, imagine my surprise to read an article in the Star Tribune regarding the remarkably cold year of Lake Superior's water temperature. Despite the outside air temperature of July and now August doing what they do in the summer, the mighty Lake Superior is, according to UMD and NASA scientists, colder than the 40-year historical usual for this time of year. And this deviation from the average is not just by a small amount. It is measured at 20 degrees below what has been the historical norm, 62 degrees versus 42 degrees, as shown on the graph in the article. I know math is not your strong suit, and frankly, it's not mine either, but that comes out to a 20 degrees difference. Imagine if the scientists discovered there was an average temp 20 degrees above the average. The article would scream about climate change and the fails of man for creating such a warm water temperature. Nonetheless, the reporter could not finish the article without mentioning climate change. However, in a twist that was described as this year's lake temperatures have little to do with climate change, and even mentions that because of climate change, the colder than average temperatures experienced this year will be less frequent. So what is it? Do the temps reflect climate change or do they not? Well, they don't. The climate's always changed. You could have done this experiment in 1650. There's no difference, not a bit of difference. And that's this summer's Lake Superior story.
Hey, even though I've been hanging on your every word, I've also been looking at the Legacy of the Lakes museum calendar. And on September 13th, Kurt Brown is going to be up here, author of So Terrible a Storm.
I read Kurt's book.
Yeah, A Tale of Fury on Lake Superior.
Yeah.
And he's going to be up here talking about it on September 13th.
Are we
Cool.
just going to gloss over the fact that the mayor just admitted that he used to subscribe to a magazine devoted to
No, that's okay. I don't have
It's a
an issue
cool
with that.
magazine.
Is it?
I'm
Oh,
glad
yeah.
you
Okay.
brought that up, Joe. You said you let your subscription lapse. So even though I was also hanging on every word you said, I went online to see where I could find that magazine.
Yeah.
And it's right here. You can just click on this and you can pay them and your subscription will start rolling.
I'm going to have to do
So,
that.
Yeah. Just look up Lake Superior
I'm
magazine.
a
on
veteran
the
of the
old Google.
Circle Tour.
Off you go.
You are.
I have the decal and a certificate from Lake Superior magazine for my
yeah.
completion.
Do you have the badge? And the
yes.
little card you carry in
Yes,
your
my
wallet?
my completion of the Circle Tour.
You get 5% off at all the hotels around the lake.
Can't remember
And,
if we did. I've
free,
told you guys that story
free
many
breakfast.
times.
Which one?
Oh God, ad nauseum.
No,
Don't-
Kenny.
don't have to
Okay,
do-
Kenny, you who pay such rapt attention. What's the story?
Well, you and
Morning
Mr.
Glory.
Unbelievable got on your motorcycles and you were riding
Oh,
through
yeah.
Wisconsin. And it's a good thing you had a warranty on that bike because she broke down in front of the casino. And the boys,
That's
because
two
they
different
really
stories.
don't like hanging out with you, they kept going
You're on about
and
three
left you
different stories
abandoned on
now.
the side of the road where a bunch of thugs tried to invite you to their private party
No,
where
that's
you
a
were
fact.
sure that you were going to be tied.
No, the story of going around Lake
gagged
Superior.
and bent over a seahole. What?
Careful.
No, me and the late great Ken Petchel completed the circle tour. Unbelievable's bike died in Grand Marais and he got towed home. The story was, I told you guys, the cultural shift in the way we live life. I
Right.
remember as a
Yep.
kid, the parents piled us into the station wagon. At the time, there would have been 6 of the 7.
Montreal.
Went to Montreal. Anyway, we ran around the top of Lake Superior on the Canadian Trans Canadian Highway, I think it's called, that probably had just opened. And there were motels with the neon cocktail glasses and swimming pools for the kids, and it was, and they were sure to always stop at one that had the neon cocktail
You
sign.
had to do that.
And then the kids could go to the pool. See.
And the old man could wind down.
And I swear to God, I remember one of them, and now it's just got sagebrush in front of it. It's closed down. There's really nothing going on at the top of the lake through Canada. And what it suggested to me was the nature of the way vacations have changed. Now the little kids demand to be flown to Disney World during the school break in the winter.
Mhm.
And the days of the driving trip going around Lake Superior are probably few and far between, except for guys like us who did it on motorcycles to get the Circle Tour certificate. And it was a completely different experience than it was in the early 60s. That was back when families piled into cars and took driving vacations. And now maybe people still do, but I don't think to the degree they once did.
And if it was 85 outside, the old man would set the air conditioning to 81.
I don't know what he did.
In the
I don't even
station
know if we
wagon?
had air conditioning.
Chris, be sure to put this on a best of show. That was fascinating.
Wow.
Yeah. Jeez, listen to that.
Joe, you can get the magazine for $24.95 for a year of 6 issues, plus the bonus Lake Superior annual travel guide.
Oh, I
So
always
there
get
you
the
go.
travel guide.
And
Yeah.
if you go to Legacy of the Lakes Museum, there's a guy on there that will tell you on YouTube the history of Chris Craft. I would like to be present when you watch that so I can hear you yelling and screaming at this guy about how wrong he is.
I was just
Calling
going to
him.
say there might be a chance I know more about the history than this. Who is it?
Dave Bortner.
Oh, I know Dave. No, he would know. He would
Okay.
be good. He would be
Yeah.
good.
He's a shirt tucker.
I don't know what that means. What does that mean?
Shirt tucker.
It means what I said. He's a shirt tucker.
Dave has great boats. He runs an outfit called Freedom Boats.
That's Kenny's nice way of saying he looks like a science teacher in middle school.
Well, he kind of does. Short hair, very neat.
So Kenny's description is
And
accurate.
He's got a
his
great-
shirt's tucked in.
Freedom Boat Service. He's got a great. There, he just got a plug. He's a hell of a guy.